The diplomatic chamber aboard the Zenith Council station hummed with the soft vibration of recycled air. Carter stood beside the crystalline table, her dark eyes scanning the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. 12 species, 12 worlds, and one very clear threat. The substance is absolute, announced Vrex, the Kalthari ambassador, his chitinous plates clicking with agitation. Our finest chemists have confirmed it. This compound will terminate biological function in any known sentient species within minutes of ingestion. Carter watched as a vial of pale amber liquid was placed at the center of the table. It caught the station's artificial light, seeming almost innocuous like honey or aged whiskey. The Devourers left it on the trading post, continued Vrex. A message. A promise. They're telling us they can end us all. The room erupted in a cacophony of translated voices, chirps, whistles, and guttural sounds all processed through universal translators into coherent panic. Kai leaned against the far wall, arms crossed over his chest, observing. He was human, like Carter, though he'd spent most of his life in the outer colonies. His weathered face showed the kind of calm that came from seeing too much to be easily rattled. Have you tested it? Carter asked, her voice cutting through the noise. On tissue samples from all 12 species present, confirmed Drala, the Veshan medical officer, her blue tendrils swaying with distress. Complete cellular breakdown. Even our most resilient members, the Kalthari with their redundant organ systems, would last perhaps 30 seconds longer than the rest. Humans? Carter pressed, Drala's tendrils stilled. We have not tested human samples. Carter reached for the vial. Commander Carter, no. Rex's claws scraped against the table. We need you alive for the defense preparations. But Carter had already uncorked the container. The smell hit her first, sharp, chemical, with an underlying sweetness that reminded her of something. She brought the vial to her lips and took a measured sip. The room went silent. Kai pushed off from the wall, walking forward slowly, his hand hovering near his sidearm more from instinct than any clear plan. Carter held the liquid in her mouth for a moment, her expression thoughtful. Then she swallowed. Carter? Kai's voice was steady, but his jaw tensed. She smacked her lips, considering. The taste rolled over her tongue, bitter, sharp, with that chemical burn that pricked at the back of her throat. Recognition sparked in her eyes. It's capsaicin, she said, looking down at the vial. And ethanol. Maybe some nicotine alkaloids? Definitely some sulfur compounds. She took another sip, longer this time, analyzing. Tastes like home. The assembled species stared at her as if she'd sprouted a second head. Commander Carter, you ingested the poison. Drala's tendrils were rigid with shock. You should be experiencing system failure. Carter set the vial down gently. This isn't poison. Well, it's not poison to us. To humans. She glanced at Kai. Remember that bar on New Austin? The one that served the Reaper wings? A slow smile spread across Kai's face. He walked to the table and picked up the vial, sniffing it. Oh yeah, the place where we signed those liability waivers? He took a drink, winced slightly, then chuckled. Not bad. Needs salt. What are you saying? Vrex's translator crackled with confusion. Carter pulled out her datapad, fingers flying across the screen. Capsaicin, that's from earth plants called peppers. Mammals evolved to be deterred by it. Birds weren't. Humans decided we liked the pain and bred the plants to be stronger. We put it in food on purpose. That's insane, breathed Drala. Ethanol, alcohol, Kai continued, still holding the vial. A metabolic poison that most species evolved to avoid. Humans discovered fermentation about 10,000 years ago. We've been drinking it ever since, socially, recreationally. Your species chooses to consume toxins? The Corlean representative's fur was standing on end. You haven't even heard about coffee yet, Carter muttered. She brought up a comparative biological chart on the holoscreen. Humans evolved as persistence hunters on a death world. Our home planet tried to kill us with predators, diseases, climate extremes, and poisonous plants. We ate the poisonous plants anyway. We learned to process toxins that would devastate other species. Kai set the vial down and looked at the assembled diplomats. Theobromine, deadly to most Earth species, we make candy from it. Oxalic acid, kidney failure territory for many organisms, we call it spinach. Don't even get me started on our relationship with mold cultures. The Devourers have made a critical error, Carter said, her voice taking on the tone of a tactical briefing. They studied the council species. They engineered something that would terrify you, but they didn't account for humanity's baseline toxicity tolerance. Rex leaned forward, his compound eyes gleaming with new interest. You're saying this weapon is useless against humans? I'm saying, Carter replied, picking up the vial again, that this weapon tells us something important about the Devourers. If this is what they consider universally deadly, they don't understand Earth biology at all, which means they're vulnerable in ways they don't realize. Kai nodded slowly, understanding where Carter was going. They built their threat around the Council species' weaknesses. Soft biochemistry, specialized metabolic pathways, single-tolerance digestive systems, but humans, Carter swirled the amber liquid. We come from a planet where the plants evolved chemical warfare, where microorganisms waged billion-year wars in our guts, where natural selection favored the organism that could eat the widest variety of things and survive. She met the eyes of each representative in turn. The Devourers made poison for diplomats. They didn't make poison for survivors. Drala's tendrils curled in what Carter had learned to recognize as contemplation. Your resistance to their weapon, this changes the strategic calculations. More than that, Kai added, his voice carrying the weight of military experience. It tells us they fear conventional warfare. They went for terror and toxins instead of direct confrontation. That's a tactical admission of weakness. Carter finished the vial, feeling the familiar burn. It really did taste like home. Like the cheap whiskey and hot sauce that got soldiers through long deployments. Like the reckless experimentation of a species that had looked at poisonous mushrooms and thought, but what if we cook them differently? So, Council, she said, setting down the empty vial, do we tell the Devourers that their ultimate weapon tastes like a Thursday night in Texas? Or do we let them keep thinking they've got us cornered? Kai's grin was predatory now. I vote we let them find out the hard way. Around the table, the representatives of the Zenith Council exchanged glances. Fear was transforming into something else. Something that looked almost like hope. The humans, those strange primates from the toxic world, had just turned a doomsday weapon into a drink. Rex's plates clicked in what Carter had learned was Kalthari laughter. Humanity, he said, truly is terrifying. The Devourers just don't know it yet. Carter smiled. Then let's go teach them.